Hey there, it's your host, Cindy Chang, founder of Evolve Consulting Co. and the visionary behind an exciting new venture launching in 2025, making staffing accessible for companies of all sizes. Welcome back to the Fearless Entrepreneurs podcast, where we dive deep into the stories behind Canada's most inspiring brands. Together, we'll uncover how these bold entrepreneurs sparked their dreams, tackled their toughest challenges, and leaned into their fears to achieve success. I'm thrilled you're here, bold enough to embrace the hard truths and inspired to learn from their journeys. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
All right, so let's kick off. I'm so excited to talk to you. Welcome, Jeremy, to the show. I just want to introduce Jeremy a little bit. Where do I begin, right? Jeremy Schreifels is a multi-talented individual who has made a significant impact in the realms of audio production, writing, voice activation, and executive coaching. In his tool belt of talent, he is a seasoned touring musician, an audio producer, an author of the book Road to 99, a second book in the fall of 2024, a podcast host to Rhythm of the Road, transformative leadership coach, and a business entrepreneur. And the list goes on. Welcome, Jeremy, to the show. What an honor.
Wow, thank you. We write those things, but then when we hear them back, it's wow, that's really good. The guy who wrote that is pretty awesome.
I'm pretty accomplished,
Sounds
right?
like I know what I'm doing. It's almost, in the words of your show, it's like I was fearless in my creation of it. So
And you are very multifaceted. I cannot wait to hear your story and just the breadth of what brought you here today, right? So tell us a little bit about your journey and how it brought you to today with all of the things that you do as a business entrepreneur.
it's such a loaded question, and I'm glad we only have a limited amount of time, so I have to give you the short version. The easiest way to explain it, Cindy, is just I have been so passionate about music, and it continued to pull me back at a very young age. I did all the typical start music, but there was a point in my life where I dove headfirst in, and this is who I am. It's what makes me
Mhm.
breathe and get up every day. And so I spent a lot of years being a touring musician. I've toured all over the US. I haven't made it north of the border yet as a performer, but I will.
There's still
There's
time.
still
Yeah.
time. I'm still young and just a lot of opportunities to network and meet people and build relationships, and I love to travel anyway. So being on the
Yeah.
road is amazing. Towards the end of my, let's call it full-time touring, I was doing about 130 to 150 shows a year. That's about 42 to 43 weekends a year that I was gone, traveling and touring and stuff like that. However, I don't say that to be like, "Hey, I was gone all this time." What I also want people to know is I spent Monday through Thursday being a dad. I took my kids to school, I picked my kids up from school. I could just be Mr. Dad because I was doing the things on the weekends. So, I thought that was pretty awesome and an honor and a blessing to be able to do those things. And as I expanded and grew and hit a bunch of the goals that I had wanted to achieve in terms of a touring musician, and as a drummer, my goal was, like, I wanna play the gigs I wanna play with the people that I wanna play 'em with and when I want to do them. And it was about 5 to 7 years ago that I actually hit that point in my career where I was getting asked to do more work than I could even handle. And so it became an
Wow.
opportunity to just I actually quit, like, I use that word quit, being part of full-time bands and went to completely just freelance work so
Okay.
that I could have my calendar back and my time back. I scaled back the amount of time I was traveling and out quite a bit because I wanted to be home more, and my kids were getting to an age where I wanna be more involved in what's going on and not missing every one of their activities. You have a young one, so you're gonna start learning that at some point, and you're gonna be grateful that you have the opportunity to live the business entrepreneurial life that you do. And as I grew into doing more and more of that, what I really started to find was after building my studio, and then COVID happened and we couldn't go anywhere. I lost all of my touring capabilities because the industry is shut down. And through that, it's time to really dive into how do I make a bigger impact? Because what I spent my first 20 years doing was being a teacher. I taught marching band, I taught drumline, I taught private lessons, I taught thousands of high school age kids for
Oh,
20 years. I want to get back to be able to give back and educating and teaching, but I want to do it at a different level. And so I'm like, how do I make this happen in the business space? Because I'd hired some coaches and they're like, you just have a unique approach to what you're doing and how you approach business, relationships, and networking that's just unique because you did it inside an industry that's so driven by how you got access to those people.
yeah.
And I've always built relationships on just being authentic and being me and just showing up. That's how you and I met, not very long ago.
Yes.
And we'll get to that story.
April.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wasn't very
we definitely have to share that
yeah,
story, right? And it was very serendipitous, and it was just at a very timely time where both you and I just connected. This is a through line in knowing you so far. The content that you produce, Jeremy, is the authenticity piece, right? And what I didn't know is that you really did the music, the audio, the executive producing, all of that your way. You did it on the weekends and you were still there to parent. I know touring musicians who didn't really get the luxury of doing that because they're away 40 weeks out of the year, but they're away for the majority
yeah,
of the time. So I think that was amazing that you set out your priorities. My priorities are my children. And I also got to do what I love and really give back to that community. So I find that very admirable. Was it ever hard for you as a freelance musician, parenting and traveling? Was it hard to juggle all of that?
of course. Yeah. We all live by these devices, and without them, they're just you wouldn't be able to make all of those things happen. It really was an opportunity to learn boundaries and how do we time block our time and what's acceptable to us and what's not acceptable to us. So when you start talking about some of those things, I see your reaction. I tell my clients that all the time, or I'm having those conversations every day. I just didn't know that's what I was actually learning. This is how we do our week. This is how we do our marriage. This is how we do parenting. And because my job looks like this and your job looks like that. How do we make these things
Mhm.
flow and jive? And was it always easy? Nope. But I always made the dedication, even if I wasn't traveling and I was still gigging on the weekend, I wouldn't do the typical go to bed at 4 or 5 a.m. and then sleep until mid afternoon and then get up and do it all over again. I would get up
Yeah.
at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and still be able to spend time and be present
Yeah.
as maybe a little tired.
Right.
However, to
Yeah.
be present in and so that intentionality showed. And I think the one thing that my kids got an opportunity to see and learn was you don't have to follow your passion and your dreams at the expense of your family. There's a lot of people
Uh-huh.
like, "We're always gone. Don't your kids miss you?" And of course they do. But would I not be a terrible parent if I didn't show my kids what it takes to do hard work and show up and go after your passion and
Yeah.
your dreams?
And that's something I talk to entrepreneurs about all the time, Jeremy, is the entrepreneurial guilt as a
Hmm.
parent, right? Because you're away a lot, you have to make lots of sacrifices for the business, you travel, you do all of that. My parents were entrepreneurs and they were busy. I was at people's houses a lot. I was just checked into people's houses. My mom would be so bold where she would go to my doctor's office and check me in at the doctor's office. And then she'd go work for a couple of hours and I'd be doing receptionist work. It was really quite incredible. But it taught me the work ethic that I have today and the appreciation for success when you do work hard, which doesn't come overnight, right? You don't snap your fingers and then the next day you're there. It doesn't happen like that. It's a journey, as you always talk about on your podcast,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and I love the journey and I love the process, and I know that you experience this as well, as you grow and you hit each of those new milestones or those new moments of success, you're like, "Okay, what's next? I did that. What can I do next?" Or what I'm in this transition phase right now for myself of I hit all of these goals within the last 12 or 18 months that I've been working for 10 to 15 years on. Okay, now what is the next 10 to 15 years? As I
Yeah.
shared with you a little bit, and I have 2 adult children now. They're 18 and 21. I'm literally starting a brand new life right now. I don't even know what it
Yeah.
looks like. I get to discover it and try things on and see what it looks like now.
What goals did you have that you really hit that you were really proud of?
I think the biggest ones was getting to this space in the music industry of I get to own my time and nobody else
Wow.
does. And you get to the point where you can I use the word demand in a soft way, but you can demand what your value is. I remember playing gigs that were 2 or 3 hours away from my house each direction for $50. And it would cost me more in gas money and because I'd be there for 6 or 7 hours. Those are the things we had to do 10,
Yeah.
12 years ago, where now there's just a certain rate where I just don't even leave my house because
Yeah,
it doesn't make
absolutely.
and it's because you have done all of those things. You're paying for the value of all of the experience. Y
Yes. And once you build that pressure of the demand for your time and your expertise,
Mhm.
you absolutely deserve it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't claim to be the least expensive option in any of the things that I do,
Yeah,
but I feel like I'm more than providing the value that's given, which
absolutely.
I think
Yeah. And
is
you get what you pay for.
that would be what we would hope for when we get to this level. We wanna make sure that we're
Yeah.
providing that value, and if it's not a good fit, I always just say, "It's probably just not a good fit for you yet." That doesn't mean it's not
Mhm.
going to be,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Timing. And that's what I've always appreciated about you, Jeremy, is your willingness to help people. And you are 100% willing to just have conversations,
Mhm.
help people, connect people to the right resources, connect people to the right tools. And that really led up to where we met each other.
Right.
We met each other at the recruitment conference here in Toronto. You were a keynote speaker at the staffing summit, and I had just been dreaming about this podcast and bringing this podcast to life 1 week prior to the summit.
Oh, wow.
And I woke up one day, it was very vivid. I had dreams about it. And then I went down this deep rabbit hole. This is what I need to do. This is my mission and this is my purpose. But as all dreams happen, they happen and then they fade a little bit. And then I met you at the conference. I didn't meet you right away. There's a story leading up to the meet, right? Which was very intense. And you had done a segment in the morning about marketing and how to use storytelling as a vehicle for branding and just telling your authentic story. And you had talked about the podcast, and then all of a sudden the light bulb just went off in my head. And I was like, I need to meet this guy. This is the reason why I'm at the summit, is because I'm here to meet Jeremy. And you are based out of the US. You work with both US and Canadian clients. You know, this is a podcast for Canadian entrepreneurs, but you hold a very special place in my podcast journey. I just wanted to let you know that. And throughout the whole day, I was trying to get a hold of you. I started tapping people on the shoulder and being like, are you Jeremy? And I met this one guy and he was like, no, I'm Rick. And I was like, I'm sorry, I couldn't say, I don't have my glasses on, couldn't see. And so I didn't think that was a good strategy. So I went on LinkedIn and I messaged you and I was like, hey, we need to meet. Hopefully we can meet today. You were in the US, I'm out in the Hamilton area. Like, we are far from each other. I
Right.
wanted to get a face-to-face meeting and it just didn't happen. And so at 6 o'clock after the summit had ended, I was leaving, and it was so dramatic too. Jeremy, the setting of it was just like the movies. It was marble staircase. I was walking out of the, hotel, and then you were coming up the staircase, and we locked eyes, and I was like, Jeremy? And you were like, Cindy?
When
And then we had a great chat. I don't know if it was like that for you in your head, but for me, it was so serendipitous. What was your experience like? Because I'm sure it wasn't as dramatic as it was in my
Well,
head.
to be very honest, it was, and
Was it?
here's why. And as I reflected after we left and I had a chance to come back to the US and debrief from that couple of days, because it was a very intense couple days. It's the end of the day, And all I could think of was, I have to go to this VIP dinner. It was the culmination of the summit. This is supposed to be an honor, because what I always try to do is when I'm on stage, I always want to reach one person and make a connection with one person. Though I had multiple conversations all day, I didn't feel like I reached that one person. And I had felt, no lie, walking up on my half of the marble stairs before I turned the corner. This is Hollywood stuff right here.
I swear.
Maybe I'll find out in a week or two who the person was that I reached. And then we both walked around that corner, and then the interaction happened. And I'm like, this is the one. You were the one.
Oh my
So
gosh.
there it is. You were the one. And so thank you for being
Wow.
that.
We had a great conversation,
Right.
and honestly, it really set the trajectory that I needed to do this. I think at that conference, you reached a lot of people because you really helped entrepreneurs inject a piece that's very important in their business, which is storytelling, marketing, and being authentic and just showing up for yourself. For me, it's nerve-wracking because I'm meeting you on these stairs. I've been stalking you all day. What if this guy's just, he doesn't care? I'm not saying all keynote speakers are like this, but sometimes they're a little bit, I just don't want to chat afterwards, which is totally fine. You were so warm and nice and so connected, and it was really refreshing. I wanted to let you know that.
I'm just gonna hold that for 5 seconds so that I can receive that, because I'm trying to be better about that. So thank you.
You did a great
Thank
job.
you.
That was amazing. And the podcast. So now one of the things that you help business owners with is their storytelling and their journey. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Box 7 Media does?
Sure. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Great.
Because I know how busy entrepreneurs are, and how I also know that they understand the value and how powerful their voice is and can be. We wanted to offer a service where it's a done for you service. So you can get on and record conversations like you and I are having today, and know that there's going to be a great podcast on the end of it with some supportive content that can go with it. The power of a podcast is you can get anywhere from 30, 40 pieces of repurposable content per
Yeah.
episode. And when you think about that from a branding and a marketing standpoint, for whether it's your personal brand or it's for your business, it's almost a no-brainer to do
Yeah.
it because of what you're getting. And so that's what we do for in the podcast space. And because of also being an author, I also do that for authors in their audiobooks and really help them bring their voice alive. And Cindy, I really get excited about audiobooks even more than podcasts, as much as I love them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for me, it's like producing a vocal session, like when I'm producing a song. I can really dive deep and really get you to capture your story so that when the listener is listening to your words that you wrote, that they physically and emotionally feel what you want them to, because you just don't get that when you read it in a print book.
Is your Road to 99 an audiobook as well?
It is also an audiobook that I self-narrated. First
I
one.
love that.
Yep.
Your book, Road to 99,
Mhm.
you self-narrated that. And did you feel like the connection, because you come from an audio background, was that a piece of art for you to curate and create? Or what was that process for you like on the creative side?
It was a challenge. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Even though
Yeah.
I spent 7 months writing and editing and publishing my book, doing that process was even more grueling because I had to reread my words and
Right.
deep into the emotional connection that I had to the stories and what I shared and all of those pieces of the book. And so
Mhm.
that's what got me so excited about being able to help other authors do that as well. It's just so powerful. And actually, 2 weeks before I was in Toronto for that summit was in St. George, Utah. And I go to my clients and help them go into the studio and help them walk them, coach them, produce them through this process. And it's amazing how many tears, how much laughter, and the introspective work that goes through. It's almost like its own therapy session and coaching session all in itself. And it all happens right within themselves. It's not like you're just going through
Mhm.
this all over again, but it's at a different
Yeah.
level, because when we hear things auditorial, they just mean more because we're hitting
Yeah.
more senses.
Absolutely. And I think that brings you back to what Box 7 Media does, which is it empowers business owners to be able to share their stories and take their audience or their clients or their customers through the journey of what you've been through, which is really powerful. And as an entrepreneur, you often sit there and what content do I create? Do I do a photo shoot? Do I just hop onto Instagram and just show my face? And I think this platform to tell your story and be authentic about it and show up for your business, tell the people the why behind your business, share challenges. It's really powerful for entrepreneurs. Can you share some success stories of what you hear? And I know Utah was one where people got really emotional about the journey, but what does storytelling have done for entrepreneurs?
I've seen it happen in so many cases. I have one podcasting client, she just hit her 100th. She's at about 110 now, but she's hit her 100th episode when she does
Wow.
weekly episodes, and she wanted to quit after episode 7.
Why?
Because it's hard. And most podcasts,
Yeah.
very small few that make it past episode 21.
Mhm.
Significant how many drop off because the
Interesting.
consistency is hard and to be persistent through it. And I think that is where what I've enjoyed with our podcasting clients is them working through those challenges and those growth opportunities inside of the process itself. But then they also discover, wow, if I'm already using this stuff over here, like I can make posts and use them for my social media content and cut them up and use them on my Instagram stories.
Yes.
And understand that you can repeat that stuff and repurpose that stuff. So
Yeah.
what I've given entrepreneurs is time back.
Interesting. More efficiency in their process
Yeah.
and also a kick in the butt to say,
Yeah,
just keep going.
like
You
on a knock on
definitely
the
do that
door.
for me.
Like, hey,
Yeah.
you got more episodes coming because we're running a little low over here, which they appreciate.
And you do that for me too. You're like, how's it going? What's going on, Cindy? I'm getting to it. I promise. You hold people accountable, which is also, I think, what's really special about the process that you do. I think just naturally, I don't think you've baked it into your process, but you just are great at reconnecting with people when you know the hard parts are hitting. And that's really powerful. And what's really great about our conversation originally after the conference, we had gotten on a call and you were like, Cindy, you can do this any way that you want to do this. You can either spend a couple $100 and start a podcast, and that's okay. And people can spend thousands of dollars and start a podcast. And there's really a wide range that's accessible to everyone. Do you want to walk entrepreneurs through what that process looks like? And it's intimidating to start it for sure, but it's not inaccessible.
The first cautionary tale I would say is please remove yourself from Amazon.com and typing in podcast gear. Please just don't do that. I'm going to save you some headaches up front. You might be able to get a lot of gear for really cheap, but you will get what you pay for. There's a few things that you just need to have that I highly suggest, and for our clients for sure, this is the base minimum you need to have. Because I come from the studio engineer background, audio quality matters. And so I think that's the biggest thing people need to hear as well is you don't have to start with a video podcast. You've chosen to start with a video podcast, which is amazing, and you've made an investment in those things, but you don't have to. You can start with an audio podcast. The masses, that's where they're going anyway. They're going to Apple Podcasts to listen, or iHeartRadio, or any of those kinds of places that they like to listen. They're going there first. Video is very new in the terms of the landscape of podcasts. And I say, start with a good microphone. If you need some suggestions, there's suggestions on my website. Those are the things that I suggest. And are they a bit of an investment? They are. And I would say that I try to make them be in the middle of the road in terms of the investment level. Because I believe if you're going to invest in your business and your brand, that you need to come out of the gate showing that you've made that investment. Because you can do it as simple, because I know that there are people who do podcasts and they do them with their Apple AirPods and their iPhone. Does it work? Sure, it does work. However, the quality is just not there. And that is, we've chosen to set a bar at Box 7 that this is where we start.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that the other things aren't okay and that they don't work. And there's lots of free tools out there to get you started. There's lots of AI tools out there that can help you. I think you've experimented with some of those. I have many clients that experience, and I'm like, They're great tools. They'll get you 90% of the way there, but they're not gonna get you that last 10 that you probably really want. But I think the biggest thing is just start. The
Yeah.
hardest thing is the name. I think I said congratulations to somebody the other day online just because they finally figured out their podcast name. You got the hardest part done.
Yeah.
It really, because
Yeah.
after that, do you wanna do solo episodes or do you wanna do interviews or conversations? Um, I recommend you do both. I that maybe you have something that is the norm. So on a monthly basis, if you're gonna do weekly, you do 3 of one and 1 of the other. So if you're gonna do 3 interviews, stick a solo episode in there. So whether you choose that to be reflective about the conversations you've been having or something you learned from those conversations, I choose to use my solo episodes as coaching opportunities or mentorship opportunities because they're things that I'm learning or that I'm having these conversations at 10 times a week, so if I can spit it out once, then the masses can get access to it. And conversely, I literally just switched this up on my podcast now, is I do 3 solo episodes a month and 1 guest. Selfishly, it's so that I get a break of not having to be the one on camera all by myself.
Absolutely. It's nice to have a mix,
Yeah,
right? We're definitely going to link your list of podcast equipment in the show notes
sure.
because I thought they were really good. I didn't think they were super out of reach.
Mhm.
And I think you gave people a range of options in there that are accessible to people who want to start a business. It was very reasonable. You weren't like, oh, you need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to make this happen. But also, you're right. Don't just go Google and buy equipment because if you're going to do it, don't sound like crap online because then it's going to sound like crap,
Right.
right? It was really good. And then the second thing that I wanted to just touch on is your podcast. I almost use it as a motivation in the mornings when I get up. What you post online and everything is very motivation based and really just normalizing failure and normalizing we're all going to get bumps and scrapes and bruises along the way. And it's okay. We're all in it together. You got to pick yourself up. And so, when were some of those hard times for you as an entrepreneur and led you up to this point where you're motivational?
I think where it hit is I've had some failures. I've had a couple businesses that didn't work. I had a
Mhm.
coffee shop that I owned with a partner, and that didn't go well. Ended pretty rough. I
Yeah.
had a recent media company prior to Box 7 actually, that also didn't go well. Though I learned
Okay.
so much, and it was the lessons learned that got me to be on the other side. Okay, what did I learn from this? My 20 years of teaching, you're gonna fall down. Learn the little lessons that you can along the way. I'm not
Mhm.
I already had an example on here. I'm not very good at taking the thanks, like, receiving when you're just like, "You were just so authentic," and I look at that as I'm just showing up being me. And a lot of
Right.
times in the beginning, Cindy, when I was making all of these posts, when I started doing these 7, 8 years ago, they were for me. That was my
Mhm.
morning of, if I don't just keep going, I can't feed my family or my kids can't do the things they wanna do. It started out as my own motivation, but then the longer they were out there, the more stories I heard from people, "Man, that post you made last month, it just hit at the right time." Or,
Yeah.
like, I literally had someone come to me, I thought they were mad, and they're like, "I can't believe you punched me in the face last week. I haven't seen you in
Sorry.
3 months. How could I have punched you in the face?" Your post, I woke up and I was not right, and whatever your post was, like, punched me in the face and got me out of the junk that I was in.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me showing up for others, because other people need it, and most days, Cindy, I need it, because it's a battle every
Mhm.
day we wake up.
Isn't that the truth for entrepreneurs? Hey, you wake up and you're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I reaching the right people? Am I authentic? Am I not authentic enough? The questions just creep in, right? And so tell me about that kind of showing up for people. Is that something that you've experienced your fair shares of failures or learning opportunities? You always had a really positive way to look at it.
Mhm.
Does that come from a deep place for you where sometimes have doubts and sometimes when you failed, what did you feel in those moments? And then what kind of gets you up and going again?
I'm gonna take a chapter from my wife's space and go really back. because I felt as a child, not a lot of people showed up for me in some really pivotal times in my life. And they were very young and I was very young. And so as I've grown older, I've come to realize that A, I'm not alone because many people have had those same experiences and far beyond my experiences and different. However, if I'm not alone, then other people too need to hear this message. That's why I make a habit of every week reaching out to 10 to 20 people. Sometimes it's just to check in. Sometimes it's just to say, happy Thursday. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Cindy, I can't tell you how many times people will message back and go, that is exactly what I needed today. And it's not because I'm following people and stalking people or I'm trying to find way. It's completely selfless. It really is.
Yeah.
I care a lot about people, and the people that are in my inner circle, they know for sure that I care a lot because I will bend over backwards or do anything, and I'll pretty much do anything for anybody. And you and I had this
Yeah.
conversation on one of our calls.
All the time.
You're like, "Jeremy, you gave me all of this. What do I owe you?" And I'm like, "Owe me? What do you we're just having a conversation here."
You did give me so much, especially at the beginning, because as a novice getting into something new, it's very intimidating, right? And not only are you like, here is my toolbox, take it, run with it. And also, on top of that, what else do you need? And then you check in and you come from such a caring place. It's very refreshing because I don't think, not even just entrepreneurs, I don't think a lot of people are like that,
No.
right? And it comes very deeply rooted within you that, what you were missing, as you said, as a child. And now that's what you really want to give people.
Right.
And it's so natural for you. And I don't know if it feels natural, but it comes across as very authentic. And post COVID, that connection is exactly what people are looking for.
Yeah.
And it's really impacted a lot of people's mental health during those last 3 years, whether their careers changed, whether their mental health has changed. I think that connection is really key. Right?
I'll add this to that. I've had some really amazing people that have poured into me in some amazing ways in the last 5 years. So I'm very grateful for those people, and they showed me how important all of these things that you just said are to others. I do it from a place of continuing to give out and give and care, but not because I'm doing it as I don't know what you even want to call it from my childhood. I'm not trying to fill a gap anymore. I've
Right.
filled that gap
Yeah.
and now I'm just moving forward. And then honestly, it's easier. I feel bad. I only sent out 10. I can do 5 more. Like, it doesn't take that
Yeah.
much. I felt this when I was in Toronto, actually, and you can probably speak to this because I'd never been there before. We were walking down the street and we were going to an evening dinner. I like to smile at people when they look at me when we're walking down the street. It's amazing how
Yeah.
many people wouldn't even look.
How was that received in downtown
It
Toronto?
was not at all.
It was not. Sorry.
Oh, it's Cindy, it's a game for me.
Yeah.
Because I travel so much, I play these social experiments when I go places to how do these people react? Because it really gives you
Yeah.
a reading. I did that the night before the summit so that I had an idea of, oh, how are the people here going to receive who I am?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was A,
Absolutely.
preparation, B, like a social experiment because it's just fun. And then you get some feedback, and then I knew how to show up better
Yeah.
on the morning of.
Absolutely. As an entrepreneur, and especially you're so multifaceted with that, it's interesting how you get to analyze people and really see what their reactions are and use that as a social experiment. I do it all the time too. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I just have a business question for you. Is you do all of these things that you love. Your tool belt of talent, as I call it, is lengthy, right? You have lots of tools in that talent tool belt. And so when did it become like a tipping point for you where you started making money from your passions?
That's a really great question. Probably about maybe 5 to 7 years ago, I hit that 12 to 15 year mark, which is typical for that growth in the creative space. So music and art and performing. It's been more joyful and profitable as I moved more into the business vertical space and consulting and coaching. So that's been great, but I don't ever get rid of the other part either. It just gives me
Right.
an opportunity to continue to give back even more. Gary Vee is somebody who I follow a lot, and he gives away more free information than anybody. And you wanna know
Yeah.
why? Because he knows
No. Why?
95% of people won't do anything with it,
Wait, what?
because they won't take the action to do it, and if they do, they won't do it for long enough, which is why podcasters drop off after 8, and then they drop off again after 12 to 15, and then at 21, if you can make it to 21, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna make it for up to 100.
Wow. I
So
didn't know that statistic. That's very
so when you think
scary.
about it, it's okay. At first, when I started my podcast, I did it purely out of crushing my own fear of being on video. So I didn't even
Mhm.
do an audio podcast. I did video only. And it was to
Yeah.
really break my own fear of being on this.
Wow, that's incredible. That is really incredible. A lot of people say, oh, it takes 3 to 5 years, but there is no magic number. It's when you start building that momentum after chipping away at it. And then all of a sudden, you built in that demand and you just continue doing the things that you love
Right.
and connecting with people and really sharing your expertise and your services is really a gift to people.
When you think about people say, I've spent all this time, why aren't I doing better? If we want to talk about the 10,000 hours theory, right, of mastery,
Yes.
when we master a thing. And so this is how I used to teach it to my private students when I was teaching them a new skill. And I'm like, you just need to do this for 10,000 hours and you'll be the best at it and you'll never forget it again. I said, but here's the caveat. You have to do it perfectly for 10,000 hours, which means you have to fail for a few thousand hours. And then you start on hour 1.
Yeah.
That's the part that some people miss is you have to
Right.
do those hours of failure and trying all of those things before you find that core group of things that you can now start to master. And honestly, I feel like I'm hitting my tipping point. It's going to happen any minute. I really feel it. And ironically, I stated 7 years ago that by the time I was 45, which I am now 45, that I was going to hit this tipping point. I said that 7 years ago. And it could happen any day.
I
I
love
feel
that.
that amount of energy and focused passion. And all I do is just keep my head down and keep moving forward and show up every day and do the things every day, like I've done for the
Yeah.
last decade.
Perfect words together, Jeremy. Focused passion.
Mhm.
That should be the entrepreneur slogan, is really just refining and sculpting and refining and sculpting and just letting your passion be the fuel that carries you forward,
Right.
right? Yeah. Amazing. I love that. And I do the segment called Get to Know Your CEO, which is just fun little questions that we do together.
Love it.
Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm definitely an introvert.
Yeah, I could probably see that, right? This is all you challenging your fears every day, being on camera, being on podcasts, all of that,
Actually, I
right?
think the clinical term is extroverted introvert. And what do I mean by that? Which
Okay.
means
Yeah,
when I need to be on, I can be on, right?
right.
Like the day of the summit. And then I went back to my room and I was exhausted. And I shut the door and I shut off my devices and I just
Yeah,
unplugged. And then when
yeah,
I got back, I did the same thing for a half a day. My
yeah.
introvert just needed some refueling. And
Hmm.
that is not a bad thing.
Yes. No, I think that's a very important thing, even for extroverts to take a beat. That's probably why I couldn't find you, because you were recharging.
I took moments of recharge all the way throughout that day. Yes, I did. But I didn't
Thank
leave the
goodness.
summit. I stayed there.
Are you a coffee or a tea person?
Coffee addict.
Coffee? How many cups? Addict.
I drink a pot of coffee every morning to start my day.
So it's not even, we're not on
Well, I don't
pots.
measure in cups. I measure in pots.
I measure in pots. Are you an early bird or a night owl? This is fascinating because you're a musician.
I can do both. On the regular, I'm an early person. I wake up at 5 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
I don't stay up terribly late, 9, 10 o'clock. But if I have gigs, I do both.
You got to be flexible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your creativity shine the most? Consistently in your life, when are you the most creative?
Between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Oh,
and
really?
11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Yep, I have those pretty
Wow.
dialed in.
That's very different parts of.
I know if I need to complete a creative project, either I have to do it right away when I wake up in the morning, or I save it and I just
Yeah.
stay up late. Everybody goes to bed. I can come
Mhm.
down in here into my studio and just be
Focus. Yeah.
focused. It never ends at 1, I can tell you that. It usually goes quite a bit later.
Yeah, because you're like routine,
Yeah.
right? Jeremy, I can barely form a sentence between 5 and 7 a.m. So the fact that your creative genius zone is there, I find that very impressive. What is your go-to comfort food?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one, and here's why I say that. I love so much
Yeah.
food.
Oh, me too.
Like,
That's why it's my favorite question. What are we eating the next time we get together?
I think if it's not steak, it'll probably be
Good
something
choice.
seafood related and fancy. I like sushi or
Fancy.
look, everybody else in my house has the smallest eating food palette in the world.
No.
Not diverse in any way, shape, or form. So any chance I get to eat outside of that palette, I am in heaven.
Okay, next time you come to Toronto, or if I'm there, then we will go for surf and turf. Perfect.
I'm in.
That's your dream meal. And what's your favorite way to relax after a long day?
Ooh. If I'm at home, just outside on my patio. In nature, probably with a small glass of really good bourbon. If I'm not at
Nice.
home, I wanna be on a beach. That's my favorite way to relax.
I think you and I are very similar. That's my dream too. Just give me a glass of bourbon or the beach.
Yep.
That is my ideal. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I think this has been such a wonderful session for us getting to know you, as well as really inspiring entrepreneurs to tell their story. We're going to link all your resources because it really comes from such a great expertise place. You can find Jeremy on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and X. We'll link it all in the show notes. He has his book. The book is called A Road to 99. Jeremy is kind enough to send a few copies over where we're going to do a giveaway on our social media. So look out for that. And he has a new book coming out in the fall around October 2024, where he dives a little bit more on the personal side. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that one?
It's about being a father, and what does that look like in a world where you lost your father, and how does that affect you across all of the things in your life?
Thank you so much for sharing that story, because I think there's really a great opportunity for men to connect into fatherhood from a very heart-centered place. And so I really look forward to sharing that, reading that, doing all of that. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your time. It's an honor. I think you're an amazing person as well as a business entrepreneur. Very inspirational. So I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to when this episode and this podcast make it all the way to episode 100.
Yeah, we'll celebrate. Surf and turf
on the beach.
with a bourbon.
Yes, all in for that.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for being on the show, and we'll chat soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fearless Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. For more insights and resources to help your business grow, visit evolveconsultingco.com. Let's continue to turn entrepreneurial dreams into reality. Hang around for our next episode where we feature another bold Canadian entrepreneur. Until next time, stay fearless.